The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NBA.
The best 2 words in sports, the Denver Nuggets force Game 7.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast.
What a win. What a win that we get to talk about, Matt. Game 6, Denver, win or go home, obviously. No better place for the Nuggets to be in their franchise history is win or go home with the Jokic Murray Nuggets at this point. What's your takeaway from the energy and the vibe at Ball Arena?
First out, shout out to Ball Arena, man. I mean, every time I go in there and it's like this, I just remember when it was 2,000 people and us just like, you could hear the coach call outs, and to see where this crowd has gotten to, it is legitimately one of the loudest arenas I've been to in my time. Like, it's up there with OKC and Oracle and those kind of buildings. Like, tonight's energy was just through the roof, and it was such a great crowd, and it really did help, I think, the players be able to push through and get this win to force a Game 7. Absolutely incredible atmosphere. Julian Strawther, what a game. Just tremendous. So happy. So freaking happy for Julian. A great performance by Jokic. A great gutty performance by Jamal Murray. The Nuggets defense, I thought, really stepped up. But I think their offensive execution was just great in this game. Peyton Watson. I was thinking on the way home, like, this was a game of heroes. And there was just like a lot of heroes in this game, which is what you need if you're going to force a Game 7 against a team this good.
100%. Game of heroes, I think, is an interesting way to play it because Denver has been in this situation before. They've obviously been in this closeout situation where they were on the other side of it in Game 6 in LA in the first round, didn't get it done at that point. I think they know what it takes. They have so many different layers of experience that they were able to pull on. I asked Jamal Murray post-game what gives them the ability to be as resilient as they need to be. And he said, because we're down all the time, which I think is just a hilarious way to frame it, a hilarious way to put it. Denver is frankly down all the time. And that's something that they have learned to accept. It's something that they have learned to manage. And even when they were down, they got down, I think, by as many as like 12 points in that late first half. They immediately went back on a run, and there was a big moment where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander picked up his 4th foul, and the Nuggets immediately kind of flipped the script on this game. And then from then on, it just felt like Denver had the momentum and carried it through.
They finished quarters really well. They finished each and every quarter, I thought, really well. They only had really one bad stretch, and that was that start of second quarter in the rust minutes and where they gave it up. But they finished the second quarter really well. They finished the third quarter really well, and they finished the fourth quarter really well. And those 3 finishes really, I thought, created enough separation to where OKC was kind of always trailing. Yoke talked about that post game about how this was the first game where it felt like we had a lead and we could hold it.
Yeah.
And that was, they made enough plays and did the things that they needed to in order to get the win. And so I thought that their composure was really good in this game. I thought their intensity was really good in this game. And they got the contributions from other guys. To me, I'm always ragging on John Corrales from Locked On Celtics over at Locked On NBA, which I do the show daily, because John has said the words, "This was the best win of the season," like 18 times. And so we're always joking. We're like, John, they can't all be the best win of the season. This is the best win of the Nuggets season. It really was. You get the monster Joker game. He was terrific. Controlled the game on all levels. Jamal, you had a great game from Jamal, especially given how sick he was because he was fatigued, but he still hit a lot of really huge shots and made a lot of big plays. That layup at the end where he screamed, and then he screamed at the crowd. Did that. You got double-digit performances from Christian Brown and MPJ, so 2 other starters gave you double digits. And then you got the Julian Strawther game. And Peyton Watson, I thought, was tremendous tonight. So you got complete contributions from so many players against this team when your season's on the line. Yeah, Game 6 was the best win of the season.
Huge stuff. We focus in. I want to focus in on Julian Strawther in the second segment, just like give him that full shine. Jokic to me looks like he solved a lot of what OKC is about to bring at him. What they brought at him through games 2, 3, and 4. It certainly feels like game 5 was the dam breaking on Jokic's performance, and then game 6 I think was just another microcosm of that. Another big stat for him in this one turnover. One turnover for Jokic in a very important moment. Murray had 5. I thought he was a little sloppy with the ball, but it's completely understandable given the circumstances. But Jokic was tremendous throughout this game, and every single time they needed the ball to go to the right spot, he was delivering it there, whether it was him delivering the ball into the basket or it was him making the pass, whether to Julian Strawther or Christian Brown or Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter, whoever it needed to be. He was making the right play. And just this is why you can never count Denver out, because they have a guy who can do that and just unlock everything for the team.
So you kind of mentioned some of that there about making the right play, but I kind of want you to dig in a little bit more. Like, what did you think Joker? How do you feel like Joker really shaped this game tonight?
I thought so many times, they go to the post a lot with him, and OKC is tilting the floor so often. And whether it's the 14 shots for Jokic is so low just in comparison, but every single time he touched the ball, it was with a position and intent to make a play into the middle of the floor to score. The only time where he didn't really do that was when he turned baseline for a very important jump hook over Hartenstein. Sometimes you just need to get your stars in the middle of the floor, and SGA and the Thunder usually do that so well. And SGA was great tonight. But Jokic just so often earlier in this series, he was spinning baseline. They were drawing doubles to him. He was caught in no man's land under the basket, never in a really comfortable spot for him to shoot. I just thought that the way he maneuvered around the floor tonight, placing himself into positions where he could just get right to the front of the rim, super, super subtle, super, super important.
Yeah, he was, he made some tough finishes. One of the things that I asked about post game was in the second quarter, Gordon and Watson drew a bunch of fouls, which meant that when Jokic got back in, he was able to attack them to get them into the bonus. And that's part of the reason how Jokic wound up with 12 free throws. In this one, he had 2 steals and a block, and I thought that his defense at the end of the game, especially on Isaiah Hartenstein, Hartenstein in this game was 4 of 4, but I feel like they were all early. He didn't do much. He had 2 slip dunks in the third when Mark Daigneault called timeout and then started having them attack more underneath on slips. But in general, I thought Jokic's interior defense was tremendous tonight. So he balanced on both ends. He was able to drive, attack, draw fouls, make shots, and set up teammates. You have the complete package from Joker, and that was a really special performance.
I thought they managed the whistle well tonight. I thought they dictated the whistle in a lot of these ways, just attacking pretty relentlessly, getting downhill. And I do want to the refs, nobody's ever going to be happy with the whistle that anybody gets. I think OKC's probably going to feel like they were cheated out of a win tonight because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander picked up 4 fouls in the first half. So, but Denver took advantage of that. They didn't allow that to, they could have let that slip through the cracks. Jokic was certainly one that was able to help them kind of press the gas pedal down. Christian Brown deserves a major shout out to 23 points in this one. I think I saw a stat that the Nuggets, Jokic, Murray, and Brown were the first trio in NBA history since the 1966 Boston Celtics or maybe it was 86. It was one of those years to have just 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists each of them, which is insane. That's an insane stat, but also very complimentary to the effort that I think Christian Brown put in tonight.
Yeah, CB was creating stuff off of the steals. He had 3 steals. He had 11 rebounds. I mean, he was battling in this one and really swooping in helped make sure they didn't get those second chance opportunities. So many of these possessions are just both teams are fighting so hard for rebounds. This has been a hard rebounding series.
Yeah.
And I think CB really helped in that regard tonight.
There's nothing like the energy of a live game. Whether it's catching a last-minute Major League Baseball showdown or soaking up the excitement of an NBA matchup, Finding great seats at a great price, though, that used to be a challenge until I found Gametime. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and the lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as the beginning of the game gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
The Oklahoma City Thunder did not do enough to win Game 6.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're recapping Game 6 where the Thunder fell 119-107 to the Denver Nuggets here in Ball Arena, where they are cleaning up what could be the final game in Ball Arena, or could just be a temporary pause until the Western Conference Finals Game 1. That is to be determined on Sunday's Game 7 result between these two teams in the Paycom Center as Denver staves off elimination and extends this series to a do-or-die game for both teams in another spot that this Thunder team has not been in. You have Shea and Lou in the bubble, and you have Hartenstein in Game 7 against Indiana. That's the list of guys on this roster who have been in this moment come Sunday. And obviously the bubble's vastly different than what Sunday will actually be, especially the tone and tenors of those two rosters, where you're the favorite. You are the 68-win team versus some scrappy club that had 0.2% chance to make the playoffs and then did. With Denver, they've been through every war imaginable, including reaching the mountaintop of an NBA championship. So they have that going for them as well in this Game 7. And to this point in the series, everybody's done their job individually, right, as teams, where you look at Oklahoma City. They did their job to get a win in Game 2 after fumbling away Game 1. They split in Denver, and you saw Game 5 go their way, a pivotal swing game in the series to now have two chances to close out Denver. And Denver refused to go home. They were resilient tonight. They were the better team tonight. They protected home court, and now it's Game 7, which is where we predicted on this show this series would be. As everybody kept pounding into your head, Thunder in 5, I was the one dissenting voice, really, that was saying, no, guys. This is going to be a battle. This is going to be a war of attrition. This is going to be a real test for this Thunder team. And how are they going to handle that test? We just don't know. I picked Thunder in 7, and I'll say it for the sixth time now in these recap shows. There's no true reason to stray from that now that you've seen them get to a Game 7, but there are concerns that linger for Oklahoma City, as we will talk about over the course of the next few days to preview game number 7, as this is the only time in the series that these two teams will get off days in between games consecutively. So they'll have Friday off, they'll have Saturday off, and then they'll get to play on Sunday in an early tip. Comes at a great time for Denver, who's been running on fumes since the postseason began and had, Aaron Gordon tweak an injury during the play here in Game 6. So he'll have 2 days off to try to fight through that, as Jamal Murray fought through a flu game in this one. Look, there's a lot to talk about from Game 6, which will mainly be spent on what the Thunder did wrong, how the Thunder can get better, what the Thunder can clean up. But Denver was just flat out the better team tonight. They were a plus 12 on the glass, and it felt like more. I mean, they really imposed their will on the boards. They only had 3 more turnovers than OKC, and I say only, not flippantly, as in the Thunder typically generate these high turnover games and don't turn the ball over themselves. Denver only turned the ball over 14 times, which is a lot, but when you put it into the context of the Thunder's defense, it's not as much as it could have been, as you've seen throughout this series even, and OKC gave it away 11 times themselves. Denver was the sharper team, the more focused team, the more poised team in this game. Denver shot 46% from the floor, just like OKC did, but the big swing was the free throw line and the three-point line. The shooting is key in this series. It was the biggest X factor in our series preview, and Denver shot 37% from 3 and made 84% of their free throws, and OKC was a porous 27% from 3 and made just 62% of what limited free throws that they generated. And that's not a complaint about the officials. The Thunder have not generated free throws all year, and we'll spend the entire offseason of how the Thunder have to get better at that. But the Thunder had 16 chances to make free points, and they only cashed in 10 free points. The Thunder made 11 three-pointers, and Denver made 12. And like those margins are key, especially when you have some turnovers, when you let Denver get on runs, and when you labor offensively overall. But Denver points in the paint went to OKC, 52-48. That's usually a spot where OKC is a bit wider of a gap there. It kind of illustrates to you how this game was different. And again, Denver just trumps OKC in the possession battle. 86 shot attempts from Denver to beg your pardon, 86 shot attempts to Denver to OKC's 92. So it was not a beatdown in that department by any means. But still, you saw in this game where Denver crushed OKC in second chance points, which is what we were going to go to second, and I messed it up. Hand up, that's on me. Everybody's having a bad game 6 today. What can I say? Fast break points was overwhelmingly towards OKC's direction, which is what you want to see from the Thunder, 20-13. Like, this was not as far away of a game from the Thunder as maybe it felt like, or as maybe the game flowed like. What I think was the biggest difference between these two teams was experience, poise, however you want to quantify this very thing, where OKC responds great to Denver's first punch out of the gate, where OKC's defense was not up to par. OKC's defense was not locked in, but the Thunder grow a 12-point lead, and they were able to finish the first quarter strong and carry that over a little bit to the start of the second quarter. And then midway through the second quarter, the game flipped. Denver closed the second quarter at an elite championship level. Just an elite championship level. Denver closed the third quarter at an elite championship level. Denver closed the fourth quarter at an elite championship level. And really, the whole fourth quarter was Denver's an elite championship level team. And OKC could not match that, could not respond to that on this very night. Because they had guys step up. And they had guys perform. And they got the Julian Strouthard game. Right? When we're talking about how similar these teams are on paper in totality, the nuance that is lost is like, you got Julian Strouthard going 4 for 8. You had Christian going 3 for 6 from 3. Who's been a guy that's not shut the ball well at all and has not made the Thunder pay for leaving him open. Tonight, he did. You got the 25 points from Jamal Murray. You got Jokic going 29, 14, and 8. Gordon struggled for the first time this series, and again, he tweaked something that they'll have to monitor. But Michael Porter Jr. had 10 points. Like, the margins were thin. Neither team just blew the other one out of the water or played overall exceptionally. But with the margins so thin, Denver had more guys step up. Denver hit more timely buckets. And that's the bottom line. Where OKC, you had Shea. Shea was awesome. Who was going to help him? I thought Chet played a good game today. I really did. I think that Chet played a good game. I think that Shea played a good game. I think that Hartenstein, for how the game was being called and for what his impact level is, right, where a lot of his impact level offensively is predicated on other players, like with the DHO, screen assist type of format to his offensive game. He can't force his teammates to make shots, but past those guys, Alex Caruso gave you a lot of heart. He had a lot of missed chances. Jalen Williams, we'll talk about him coming up. A lot of you are already typing his name before getting to that segment. Jalen Williams, the box score continues to not be pretty, and he's made improvements, but it's just not there. Tonight was dreadful when you just look at the game that was played in front of you. In a lot of ways. There were some ways where he was a positive, but in a lot of ways, it was dreadful, and he'd say so himself. 6 points on 16 shots. It's not great. 0 for 4 from 3, and you have to wonder what that wrist injury, if it's lingering or what's going on there. Wiggins comes in. He can't save it. 1 for 6 from the floor, 0 for 4 from 3. I thought J. Will played well, but like, if J. Will's the fourth name, with all due respect to J. Will, like, that's not what this team's built on. This team is built on their discipline, their defense, and their ability to win in the margins. They did none of that. Like, they did not defend at their level. Did they defend at a passable level? Sure. But they did not defend at their level. They did not play with their physicality. And yes, like, the refs can control some of that physicality, but so can Oklahoma City. Like, a lot of the reason they got in foul trouble tonight was less to do with like the physicality by and large, and more to do with just giving away fouls, in unnecessary spots. The first foul on Hartenstein was a 3-pointer for Jamal Murray. That is something that puts you behind the 8 ball. SGA, had Jokic's arm in an arm bar whenever Jokic is going for a layup. You got to just let him have the layup there. SGA had the tie up with Jokic at the free throw line. Like, whenever you already have 3 fouls, you've got to just get back and play. I know you want to make every play. You can't give away those fouls. So a lot of the reason the Thunder got in foul trouble tonight Part of it was like the AC wrap-up of Jokic in the paint. They have not been calling that all series. Part of that was out of your control, but some of it was in your control. So it's like whenever you didn't defend, when you didn't make your shots, when you defend at your level, of course, when you didn't make your shots, period, at any level in this game, whenever you go out there and don't win those margins like the turnover battle and to make up for the lack of rebounds, or you don't bring your normal intensity on the glass that you've been able to keep these rebounding numbers closer, like of course you're going to lose, especially when Denver had guys step up and you did not. The fact that Jay Will is up on that list, it says a lot about him, that he made some great plays tonight. He had some opportunities tonight, but it also says a whole lot more about the rest of this roster tonight. And this is why Game 5 was so important, because you have a 2-game sample size and Denver had 1, right? If Denver would have had the inverse, and like they just couldn't make a shot tonight for whatever the reason, they'd be going home right now. If we were talking about Denver tonight, how we talked about Denver in Game 4, like they'd be going home right now. Oklahoma City has another 1-game sample size now to try to close out this series, and it's going to be at home. So the Thunder are going to have to regroup. They're going to have to get back in the saddle, so to say. But for the Thunder to win in 7, as we predicted, they were always going to have to lose 3 games. And this is going to be a huge one. I mean, this is going to be the biggest game of these guys' careers. Every single one of them, except for Alex Caruso because he's won a championship. Everyone else, biggest game of your career, because you're a 68-win team. You're supposed to be in the West Finals. You're supposed to be the title favorite. You're supposed to be this dominant team. You got to go prove it, because you haven't proven it in a lot of these games this series. You've got to go prove it in a Game 7.
The NBA playoffs roll on, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes it easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props, from 3-pointers to steals to assists. There's so many ways to bet your favorite props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
The Cavs got to get tougher this offseason, and that might mean breaking up the core 4.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
The Cavs failed this postseason, and there's not a nice way to say it, but I do think because of what this failure was for them, it is fair to question everything about this roster, almost everything about this roster. I do not believe that there should be any questions about Donovan Mitchell. I think it's unfair to question Evan Mobley. And that's kind of where it stops. I think everything else on this roster can and should be questioned. That doesn't mean everything else on this roster needs to be changed. Like, I am somebody who, I will come out and say this, I am still a believer in Darius Garland as a playoff performer. I think that toe injury he's dealing with was rather significant. I do not think that this Pacers series is something that when you look at his performance and you look at the future of the Cavs, I don't think that you look at this series and say, that guy's not a winner. I don't think you do that with him. He still needs to prove that he is those things, but I don't think that you just dismiss him because he was injured during this series. But I think it's fair to ask questions about everybody other than the 2 guys I mentioned. And that leads to kind of, I think, the question that is going to shape this offseason, and one that I'm sure between now and the middle of July, we will be talking about a lot on this show. And it's one that we talked about a little bit last year, right when I first started here on Locked On Cavs, and whether or not the core 4 should move forward. Last year when Kobe Altman spoke at his end of season availability, he talked about keeping the core 4 together. I didn't believe him. I rolled my eyes. I thought, there's no way he's doing that. He's saying that to protect trade value potentially for Jared Allen or Darius Garland, because Donovan Mitchell was not getting traded, and you knew Evan Mobley, of course, was not getting traded. So when we talk about potentially breaking up the core 4, we're talking about Jared Allen and Darius Garland, because the other 2 guys are not going to get dealt. I think those are the 2 untouchables on the Cavs roster. But the way I look at this is, well, what needs to change about the Cavs? It's clear this was not good enough. The Cavs don't think it was good enough. Nobody should think this was good enough. And I don't think to give, proper credit, I don't think anyone thinks this is good enough. I don't think anyone is happy with the way that this year turned out for the Cavs ultimately, because it is a year that was always going to be judged on postseason success. Mostly next year, that's going to get ratcheted up tenfold. But can the core four deliver a championship? I think that is the question that Kobe Altman needs to be asking himself, will be asked whenever he speaks with the media, which might be today. I don't know. I'm recording this as of Thursday afternoon. I don't have information on when he is going to address the media, but I do believe he will at some point soon. And I think that is kind of the biggest question of this offseason, because if you look around this Cavs team, well, what needs to be different? Do they need to be better offensively? And yeah, but like they were second best offense of all time in the regular season, and they didn't make shots in the postseason. That, is that something that needs to change roster wise, or is that just a little bit of bad luck? I tend to think that the lack of shooting in the playoffs was not because the Cavs suddenly turned into bad shooters. I think there was a little bit of bad luck there. Do they need to be better defensively? I do think so. I think they underachieved on that end of the floor for most of this year. But that is something that, how much does the roster need to change as far as that goes? Because you look at this roster on paper, sure, Darius Garland's not a good defender. I thought Donovan Mitchell this year was an average defender, which is pretty good for him. Evan Mobley, Defensive Player of the Year. Max Strus is good. Dean Wade is good. DeAndre Hunter is good. Isaac Okoro is good. Jared Allen is very good. Like, I can just name a lot of really good defenders, and they still underachieved on that end of the floor. Kenny Atkinson did not have a good series against Rick Carlisle on the Indiana Pacers, but I still think he is a very, very good coach. Thought he deserved to win Coach of the Year. And obviously, you're not making a change there, and you shouldn't be thinking about making a change there if you're the Cavs. But I can say all of these things and know, well, something has to change. I don't think that running it back as is the answer. Now, is running back the role players the answer? Probably not. Is running back the core four again the answer? Probably not. That's kind of where I've gotten to with this. And I think there are a number of reasons why that this group should have played its last game together. And the biggest one, of course, is, well, they failed. And they've now had 3 postseasons together, and they've won 11 games. And that is not good enough. And I'm not saying that they should have won the title last year or, their first year together, but I do think that first year, they should have been more successful than they were. The lights were too bright. That's what Jared Allen told us after the Cavs lost to the Knicks. And that is a quote that obviously has followed him around. Part of it is because he said it, he brought it upon himself, and I get that. Part of the time, I feel like it's been a little unfair. But it's hard to look at this and say, you know what, Jared Allen really rose to the occasion. Last year he was injured, and I'm not going to hold that against him. He could not play through a very, very painful injury that I think could have gotten a lot worse had he played. I don't hold that against him. I don't think anyone should hold that against him. I think some of the things that were said by people who are no longer with the organization, JB Bickerstaff on the radio, those comments, Marcus Morris, the comments he made, I thought those were out of line because I think Jarrett was playing through a lot, and I don't think the Cavs did him any favors by listing him as questionable for every game when he was not going to play. And I think that probably hurt his reputation a little bit. Now, built it back up. He played in every single game the Cavs played this year, all, I believe, 91 of them, right? But he didn't rise to the occasion in the playoffs. I thought against Orlando last year, in a few of those games before he got hurt, he was fine. He's good. But the Cavs needed him to rise to the occasion. We can talk about playoff risers and guys that maybe are playoff fallers, and Donovan Mitchell, no question, playoff riser. I don't know how you can watch that guy play in the postseason and think this dude does not rise to the occasion. I think he gets better. The bigger the game gets, I think he gets better. I think he's willing to do whatever it takes to will his team to where it wants to go. Now, that wasn't good enough in this series, but I don't put that all on him. I don't put much of that on him. Playing through what he was playing through, still producing in the way that he was. I mean, he only scored, 12 points in game 4? and still average 35 points a game in a 5-game series. Like, you have to be great in a sample size that short. The other 4 games have to be so good in terms of scoring to offset a 12-point performance. I don't know how you could call him anything other than a playoff riser. As I mentioned earlier, with Darius Garland, I am willing to say, okay, he was hurt this year. The first 2 games he played against Miami, I thought he was good. I thought he played well. He could not move against the Pacers. Like, it is hard for me. And if you want to have a conversation about his durability, I think that's a different conversation. I think that's a more fair conversation. But it's hard for me to put the results of this and what he looked like on the floor. It's hard for me to hold that against him because he very, very clearly was not himself. Very clearly could not move the way that we expect Darius Garland to move. So I think the jury is still out on him. I think Evan Mobley can be a playoff riser. I don't know that we've seen enough. I think the ankle was bothering him near the end of this series still. I thought he had some really good moments, though. If you look at what he did, I thought game 3, Donovan was the best player on the floor in that game, but Evan Mobley was second, and he was not very far behind Donovan. Like, what he was able to do on both ends of the floor, I think very, very impressive. I'm not ready to sit here and call him a playoff riser yet, but he's had some pretty good playoff games in the 3 postseasons he's been in. And I think part of the reason why maybe he wasn't better was the lack of opportunity. I think that you can put that at his feet. You can put that at Kenny Atkinson's feet. I think you can put at Donovan Mitchell's feet, Darius Garland's feet, Ty Jerome's feet, the guys handling the basketball. I don't think that's all on Evan. I think it's part of it on Evan, but I don't think it's all on Evan. I'm not ready to call him a playoff riser, but I'm not ready to say that he doesn't rise to the occasion either. I think that we need to see probably at least one more postseason from him in these high leverage games to know for sure. But then I get to Jarrett Allen. And I do think at this point, and I like Jarrett, I think he's a really good player. But we talk about guys that are 82 game players and guys that are 16 game players. I think Jarrett Allen at this point, I think he's an 82 game player. He's a very helpful player. He's a very useful player. He is somebody that is going to show up night in and night out and be consistent, be good, play near an all-star level. He's a guy you want on your team. But I don't think he's a guy you want on your team when you're trying to win a championship. Because he was awesome. For the 82 games he played in the regular season, he was awesome. He was great. Did a lot of really good things for this team. I just don't know that he's a guy that you want playing in the 16 games you need to win a title. Because in this series against the Pacers, I didn't think he showed up. Against Miami, I can't even sit here and say Miami is good enough to judge stuff on that. Like, and I know what I said about Darius Garland's first 2 games, but I don't know that I can sit here and say, yeah, you know, the stuff they did against Miami was really good. That should be encouraging. No, like Miami was 37-45. They should not have been anywhere near the postseason. The Cavs faced a team that should have been picking like 9th in the draft. And that stuff, I think, just has to matter in this conversation. I think that the Cavs this offseason, they need to take a deep look internally. And this is more of a front office thing, not necessarily a player's thing. But I think internally, they need to take a look. Who's a playoff riser and who's not? And I think the answer to that question tells you who should be back from the core 4.